feel-good spirit. Sir Elton John, Oprah is there. Well, I thought that would be cool to share this stuff, but I think what's gonna be even cooler is I have a friend online tonight. His name is Gary Dixon. We met Gary back in 2016 in Chicago at a summer institute. Gary is the president of the Foundation for a Better Life. It has a Pass It On campaign. He works with Random Acts of Kindness. Before that, he was in charge of this communication system with the Major League Baseball and the Children's Miracle Network. He resides now in Denver, and he is just a really dear friend. When we first met him back in 2016, he became a cheerleader and encourager for us. So if I'm seeing well, I see that Gary is online. And Gary, I just want to thank you for joining us tonight. These group of humans, this is about half of them, are going this summer to Steam in the Park, and they're going to spread kindness and goodness. They're going to hug rangers. They're going to help solve problems. They're going to go to get their buckets filled. And I couldn't think of anybody any better to sort of give them that encouragement and that cheering on. So, Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you, and welcome again.
Thank you very much. My goodness, what an honor to be on with such outstanding people. I know Dacia attracts the best, and you are the best. That is for sure. Well, thank you for inviting me, Dacia. It's an honor truly to be here. I know what kind of work you do. I know the difference you make, and thanks for letting me spend a minute or two with you. I know you've got plenty to do tonight. Dacia wanted to know how all this got started. First of all, let me just look around. Have you seen these billboards in your cities or in airports? Good, good. So you know a little bit about what we're doing. Well, this got started in 2000, and with the idea that people are basically good and could just use a reminder. And that's a whole different program than people are bad and need changing, right? So that would be a whole different kind of message. But this is about a true belief, and I believe it sincerely, that people are basically good, and we all need a reminder now and then. Um, it it began with just simple messages. A billboard, a television spot, a radio spot, a podcast, a social media post, that kind of thing. And it grew and grew. And now it's been seen over time in about 195 countries. And one of the things I discovered along the way was that values are borderless. And I might have raised my hand and said that at some point that, oh, yes, everybody understands values. But we began to get comments from Jamaica and Israel and Beijing and Indiana and everywhere else in the world. And I realized that people didn't see this in other parts of the world as just an American thing. They saw this as a universal thing, that when someone drops something and someone picks it up, that's a and helps them out, it's a universal thing. And so we early on, I saw that the number six, just in terms of volume coming to our site, was from China, and that eight of the top 50 countries coming to our site were Muslim countries, um, from Lebanon, from you name it, Iran, Iraq. And I thought, how is that possible? But values truly are borderless. I'll lean over here. You were talking about kindness. There's Dolly. This is something she said: find the good in everybody, kindness, pass it on. There's very few people you can put up on a billboard and say they represent kindness, and have it believed by everyone else. But I don't think I've ever heard a single negative comment about Dolly Parton. Um, we all love her. We respect her. Uh, she she stays true to herself. And and I thought, what a beautiful statement. Find the good in everybody. And sometimes you do have to find it. Sometimes it isn't real obvious. Sometimes we need to dig a little bit. And so as you're out doing STEAM, is it STEAM, right? Steam in the parks,
Yes, we're calling it steam.
STEAM, which is most true at Yellowstone. But uh, you're going to be doing, you're going to be changing lives. You're going to be impacting people in ways you probably hadn't imagined. Anytime you reach out, as she was saying, hug a ranger, do something, say something kind. Sometimes people are starving for that. You may think that they're all just like you, but they're not. People, we all carry burdens and challenges. I have them, you have them. But a kind word, a smile, a handshake, a recognition of someone's goodness, something you notice about them. Um, and the other thing that people love are your stories. I think that an author that I read one time, Chaim Potok, some of you may know that author, Jewish author. He said the most personal is the most universal. And if you think about the great comedians, they're always telling something about themselves, and we laugh. And I think we connect with things about ourselves. And so as you tell your story and why you're there and what you're doing, it will mean something to someone. And in an interesting way, it'll cause them to tell their story and to strengthen somebody else and to lift somebody else. And that's really what you're out there for, not to just have it happen once, but to have a ripple effect. And I think that's what kindness does. When you're coming out of a game or a, a concert somewhere and you just can't get into traffic, finally you make eye contact with somebody and they let you in. And what happens is you let somebody in, and the next person, you just watch it happen down the line. That's that's the joy and the magic of being kind. It You're better for it. Actually, you're healthier for it, mentally and physically, and you are doing something for them, and you're doing something for yourself that will last. Many things go away, but that happiness, that warm feeling from just reaching out beyond yourself. As someone said, if you want to be happier, help somebody else, right? We know that. This group knows that so well. Um, I'll tell you a story that we got one time where there was several years ago, we got a comment, and I gave this one to the board. It was the comment of the year for me. Someone had seen one of our TV spots, and he said, I'm a 25-year cop in Pasadena, and I'm sitting here with something cold in my hand watching TV, and I feel something. I think it's hope. And I think that 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 lifts us. And when you're kind, it says, oh, my hope in humanity's restored again today. It was bashed in yesterday when somebody did something, but today that little kindness that you showed me, that little compliment, that helpful thing you did for me, that boosted me, and instantly they want to do it themselves. Um, I think that I learned something. I had an opportunity to hear the Dalai Lama a number of years ago, and he said there's 7 billion people in the world, and he said if you try to reach people with religion, you'll get a very small portion of them. If you reach them with some agenda, you'll reach maybe a little bit more, something, you're selling something, you're doing something, you might reach some people. But if you said, if you will help people heal from the inside, you'll show compassion and you'll show kindness to them. And it was a group of mayors that were there from representing about 80% of the US population. And he said, in your cities, you have problems, but you're not going to cure it with more laws necessarily. He said, but if you will begin a pattern of kindness, starting with you, he said, you will heal as a person heals from the inside out. He said, your cities will heal from the inside out. And I thought, what a beautiful statement. Difficult, challenging, but I pass that along to you from someone who I regard as one of the wise people of the earth, who has worn out his life trying to make the world a little better place than he found it. I love being with you. I wish we could talk more because, as I said, I know Dacia just surrounds herself. They come to Dacia. You've come to Dacia because you believe in what she's about, and Steve, and this whole movement she's created. So thank you for what you're doing and what you will do. And if there's any questions, any comments, Dacia, anything else that
Yes, yes.
we
So
should say?
we want you to hang on because we can keep going. While I'm seeing if there's any questions, my ambassadors are going to curate those in the chat. Is there another story that you can tell? I mean, we're all having goosebumps now that with Dolly and the Dalai Lama and Kermit the Frog, whose people are talking about, and Jackie Robinson and the poster you put up about him or the billboard. Do you have another great story?
I do. I'll tell you a Kermit story while you brought that one up. So we were working on that, and we went to the Jim Henson Company, and the writer for Kermit, not the voice, but the writer for Kermit, looks over Jim Lewis and he says, "Well, you'll know this is successful when there's parodies of it." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he takes out a yellow pad and he writes this great line. He said, he said, today, he said, this is a parody billboard for you. Today is the first day of what's left of your life. Complain, pass it on from the foundation for a bitter life.
I love that.
They
That
wrote
sounds
it. It was
amazing.
instant. It was instant. I mean, that's how good these guys are.
Oh, one of
Um,
the people have a question for you. Did you have a favorite teacher?
mm, you know, I probably would go back to two of them. One was Mrs. Freshly in the fourth grade. Um, I have learned later that when you're that little and you're telling stories that aren't true, that it's not necessarily lying, it's just your imagination running away. So I took comfort in that. And everybody was going on these great vacations and they would stand up and, oh, tell us about what you did in the summertime. Well, our family, we didn't do a lot, but I was making up these stories and going on, and she knew that I couldn't have done all these wild and crazy things. But she was, oh gosh, that's wonderful, Gary. Next. And but she loved me. She supported me. She said, "Hey, you're okay," and it meant a lot in the fourth grade when you didn't feel so okay. So I remember Miss Freshly.
Um, do we have any questions? Anybody that wants to pop in the chat? Another question for Gary. Can I just share real quickly that Gary is not only a kind person and a smart person and a connected person, he is very willing to be helpful. Gary agreed to do this in 24 hours when our other speaker was not able to show up. And I reached out to Gary and he immediately said, "Yeah, I'm here. Let's do it." So just thank
Well,
you so much, Gary, for
you're most welcome. The
yes,
price was right. I mean, she said, "Look, we got $1 million for you."
I did. But then I made things up. And he said he loved me anyway, just like Miss Fresh. So I just want to tell you that. So we do have a question. It is,
Yes.
what do you think is the best way to teach kindness and empathy to children, knowing that these are all educators from pre-K through college? Do you have any tips for us?
You know, kids learn the best from example. We all do, but kids especially. Yeah, I will say I'm not proud of all the things I've said in the car driving with my family when a wasp gets inside the car and I'm going about 60 or 70 miles an hour. One of us is going to die. And I get pretty excited about a wasp. So I think my kids have unfortunately heard by example a couple of things I'm not proud of. But um, I think the only way, really, I mean, you can talk to kids, you can, et cetera, but if you are kind, especially when it's difficult, when I will say this, one of the things I've learned over the last decade that I didn't really pay attention to early on in my life was the importance of taking contention out of your life. Now, there's times when you have to be strong. There's times when, as a parent, you have to be clear and strong, but contention has an agenda to it. It's sort of I win and you lose, and I'm bigger, or I'm stronger, or I'm tougher, and I'll outlast you, or whatever it may be. But if there is a lack of contention in your correcting of people, they will feel that. And I think that one of the things I have tried to do, not always successful, that's for sure, but it's to leave a situation better than you found it. And that's tough to do. And sometimes it takes a great deal to gather yourself, but especially with children in the classroom, um, showing them kindness, listening to them so that they feel seen and heard. Um, I promise you, and they will do that. They will do that themselves, and they will also imitate your anger and pick that up as a way of handling things. So it's by example. It always is for adults as well as kids in the workplace, wherever it may be. It's always an example that changes somebody, moves their heart.
That is a great question. We have one more if you're still okay to hang with us. We have many more than that, but what inspired you to do this? Was there this one thing you did something or something happened to you and this movement now has just exploded?
I don't think it was one thing. I think that I had been in advertising for a number of years and had always felt that there was something that could be done that was lasting. Um, in advertising, sometimes they come and they go. You've got an ad on, and I used to be a DJ for a country radio station, and you'd make some ads, and within a few weeks, they're off the air. Naturally, people stop paying for the ad, it goes off the air. But I thought, gosh, is there anything that can last? And I got a call from our chairman in Denver, and he had seen some of the work we were doing at our agency for the Boy Scouts, for Children's Miracle Network, Major League Baseball, et cetera, as Dacia said. And at the end of the presentation, I said, what is it that you want to have happen at the end of 30 seconds? And he said, I want to help build character, but I don't want my name on it. And which is so unusual if you're going to donate to something. And I thought that is remarkable. So that was how this originated. Just someone that had had done well financially and wanted to and said values, positive values, have made a difference in him and his family's life. And he felt like sharing those would be a good thing for him to do. And I mean, I could go on with stories. I don't know what I hear.
Um, we're going to have to do this
That
again sometime and just have conversations about this. But which was your first sign? Which billboard?
it was of Muhammad Ali, and it was his greatest fight yet isn't in the ring.
Mm,
Courage, pass it
yeah.
on. We put
Yeah.
that up on Times Square and launched this campaign. And I will tell you that was our plan was to. I came in on September 10th, 2001. We all remember what September 11th was, but I was on Times Square. We were ready to launch this campaign. And of course, we didn't launch it on September 11th. The world changed. And but we did. We came back a few months later. And I had wondered, would this billboard with Muhammad Ali be still relevant, or has the world changed? And it turns out values were more relevant than ever. And we also included one with a fireman that showed him covered in debris and with his fire hat on. It says, "When others ran out, he rushed in." Courage, pass it on. Leanne, you're saying something there.
Sorry, I got so excited. I remember that one. I remember sitting and looking at that billboard and weeping.
Oh, I hear you. I wept too. Just you weep to think about it. What bravery. What
Yeah.
bravery.
Oh, Gary, you are the right person for tonight. I am so thankful my other person fell through and that you were the right person. One of our ambassadors posted that the last few days have been really tough, and with our world climate and just things that make us sad, that this was timely. You were the right person to be here tonight. We appreciate this so much. We will have to do this again so we can just have a round table and have a conversation. I do want to invite you to something though. In On July the 13th through the 17th, we'll be in the Rocky Mountains with one of our Steam in the Park camps. We are camping at Glacier Basin. So if you happen to be around, um, contact me and we'll get you in. And we'd love to have you come sit around a campfire with us and share stories. And I'm sure all my Rocky Mountain people are going crazy right now thinking,
Share the steam.
yeah,
Yes.
share the
Yes.
steam.
Well,
Yes,
and I would, but I've got a son coming in from California for a visit. He doesn't get up here much, and he arrives the 12th, and I think he's staying to the 17th. So
that's perfect.
I better hang with him. But
You
thank you
better.
for that invite, and thank you for tonight. I have such respect for what you do, that your work is from the heart, and uh, and you make a difference. So thank you for allowing me to be in your midst for a minute. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm lifted up just knowing who you are.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And I hope you can see the chat. People are in there right now thanking you so much for being here. We're just very grateful to what you do. And we hope that we can be a small piece of this continuation of kindness as we enter year 5 of our Steam in the Park. So we're very excited about that. So we're all giving you a virtual clap from all over the country right now. Just
Mm.
very thankful. So I hope you guys are excited about this. We didn't want to share it, but we wanted to just in case something were to happen, but we hope that you've enjoyed it. I'm going to pop back to well, I'm not going to do that. Hang on, we're going to try this again. I'm going to pop back to my deck for just a moment and see if I can get uh, this to share. We're going to try it. Nope. Okay, we're going to try it again.